There were two freshmen who were turning heads Tuesday morning at Vols spring practice. Who were they? What are some other highlights from Tennessee football spring practice? And a little hoops talk. All that and more coming up here on your Wednesday Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, good people? Welcome into it. This is Locked On Vols, and I'm your host, Eric Kane. So glad that you guys have decided to hang out with me here today. And this episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to go ahead and get started. Man, it's a busy week. We're kind of in crossover season. For me, I'm covering Tennessee spring practice. Of course, I'm covering the Tennessee baseball team, and I'm watching the Tennessee basketball team, both the men and Lady Vols. Shout out Lady Vols, Sweet 16 bound, both Tennessee teams. Of course, Tennessee, the men heading to the Big Apple, Madison Square Garden. The ladies heading out west to Seattle. So exciting times right now. There is a lot going on Rocky Top here this week. But hey, on today's show, Wednesday, I want to break down what I saw from spring practice number 2. That was Tuesday morning. And remember, as I kind of explained yesterday, we don't get to see an awful lot of practice when we go, but there's one time in spring and one time in fall camp where we get to see about an hour, and that practice was yesterday. So I'm going to give you some of my biggest notes and takeaways from spring practice number 2. That's coming up here in just a moment. Josh Ward for a little Ward Wednesday in segment number 2. And then in segment 3, Tennessee made a scheduling change for 2024. We'll take on NC State, and I know it's a little underwhelming, but it just kind of is what it is. That's the rundown here for a show, for a Wednesday show. Please subscribe to Locked On Vols on YouTube and subscribe wherever you find your podcast. Okay, so Tennessee spring practice number 2. I said in the cold open, hey, there were two freshmen who stood out. I mean, they kind of balled, to be completely honest with you. I was really impressed. And keep in mind, again, this is day 2. They're in helmets. No shoulder pads, no side pads, hip pads, thigh pads, knee pads, all that type of stuff. But they're not in full pads, okay? So a lot of people look good when you're just in shorts. I understand that. But two guys I was really, really impressed with from freshmen, one on offense, one on defense. This is coming from Tuesday, is linebacker Arion Carter and tight end Ethan Davis. Now, Carter, boy, you just look at him go through individual drills and his footwork and his finesse. I mean, he just looks years older than what he is, to be completely honest with you. And that's something I noticed in individual. And then when he was going through and doing some ball drills, you can tell that he used to be an offensive skill player. You can tell that he used to be a Division I running back commit to Memphis. I mean, he's an athlete. And when we got to the best on best, the 11-on-11 period at the end of the time that we were out there, he picked off Joe Milton. Yeah, I mean, he planted, dropped back, went to his zone, read the route, jumped it, and made a play. And he looked really, really good doing it. So I thought Arion Carter performed really, really well on Tuesday morning. And then 5 freshman defenders spoke to the media Tuesday after practice, and he was one of them. And he's mature, and he just feels like he's 5 years beyond his age, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All those guys were. I mean, Caleb Herring was good. Arion Carter was good. Jordan Matthews was good. John Slaughter was good. Jeremiah Teenlander was good. That was a good batch to set up there. So good job on Tennessee. They all did a really, really good job. But Arion Carter is who I was really impressed with. And again, when we talk spring practice, when we talk fall camp, we're always wondering about the newcomers, the newbies, the transfers, the freshmen. And so that's kind of what we lead off with, because we've at least seen some of these other guys, play for a year or two, but we want to know about these new guys. And Arion Carter's one of those new guys, and I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be pushing to help Tennessee this year. I really, really do. On the offensive side, I'm going to go with Ethan Davis. And Ethan Davis is a guy that tore his labrum, I think it was like week 2 of his high school season, his senior season. It was unfortunate he was out the rest of the year, which kind of sucked, don't get me wrong. So he is still kind of battling back. He's wearing a red non-contact jersey, okay? So when Tennessee does go and picks up the intensity and the hitting and puts the pads on, I wonder, how far he can go, I guess is what I'm saying. But there are some guys who are injured and will do individual and Then we'll sit out of team periods. We'll sit out of inside run. We'll sit out of, Skelly and all that type of stuff. But then Ethan Davis is a guy that did everything. And so I'm intrigued to see how much he'll actually hit. I would assume he probably won't. But everything that I saw on Tuesday from Ethan Davis was good. First and foremost, physically, he looks like a guy that's going to play tight end in the SEC. I mean, he's a bigger guy. He's always been a bigger guy, but his body's defined. I mean, he came in, I feel like, and has already taken advantage of that weight room for some time off the football field that last fall. And I think he's done a really, really good job in that regard. So he looks good. He runs really crisp routes. He catches with soft hands. He made a really, really nice catch in one-on-one, winning both his one-on-one reps that I saw him take on Tuesday. So the two guys that stood out to me more than anybody, freshman linebacker Arion Carter, freshman tight end Ethan Davis. And so, good on those guys. I thought they obviously looked really, really good. Well, for Tuesday, again, we got to see 10 periods, and that was a lot of fun to see. Keenan Peely, transfer linebacker, as I mentioned yesterday. I mean, he looks the part, right? He looks 24 years old. He's physically bigger than the other guys in the room because the majority of the other guys are young guns, right, along with Aaron Beasley, but Aaron Beasley is not the biggest guy in the room as well. But it was good to see the linebackers and Keenan Peely. A lot of times, and I kind of wrote this in my practice observations over at volquest.com, a lot of times when you have a newcomer, like take Nico, for example, and I know he's a freshman, so it might be a little bit different, but Nico's practicing as the 14th quarterback right now. Why? Because it's his second day of his college career, and that's how it works. Will he be the fourth quarterback by the end of spring practice? No. Will he be the fourth quarterback by the end of this week? Probably not. Okay, I mean, it just is what it is. Keenan Peely, and again, this might be a little different because he's a transfer, but Keenan Peely is Tennessee's starting linebacker aside from Aaron Beasley. Day one. That's just, it is what it is. Tennessee wasted no time when they say first backers out. It's Beasley and Peely. Look at Gabe Judy-Lally, his former teammate at BYU, and he's running with the twos at cornerback right now. And again, secondary is a little bit different because you return so many people. But my point is, Tennessee's not wasting any time. They're just like, okay, you're going to be our starter over here. You're going to be our starter next year. Get over here. Let's get in line. Let's go. Lead this group. And that's what Keenan Peely's doing. I think it's a pretty good job. Defensive line worked a ton under the cage, a ton on explosion. When they went into the team period at the end of our practice viewing period, Maury McNeil jumped up and tapped a ball. Omar Norman-Law jumped up and tapped a ball. That was good to see. In the secondary, and again, it's day two, guys are not in full pad. So again, take everything with a grain of salt. It's just kind of line up, let's walk through things. It's essentially, for a lot of this individual periods. But the two safeties going with the first group, Jalen McCullough, Wesley Walker. Your star players, Tamari McDonald. Your corners, Kamal Haddon and Danico Slaughter. That's your first group. Your second group, your two safeties, Andre Turrentine and Christian Charles, who is back at safety. That's noteworthy. Your star is Jordan Thomas, who getting a little work in at star and not just safety this spring. And your corners are Gabe Judy-Lally and I want to say D. Williams, maybe? I can't remember. But nonetheless, Brandon Turnage is a bit banged up right now. Deshaun Rucker's a bit banged up right now. Those guys aren't even out there, going through all that type of stuff. So those are the big stuff for defense, the highlights. You look over on the offensive end. I thought all the quarterbacks threw pretty well while we were out there. It's hard to get a gauge on Nico right now because, again, he's, four-string quarterback, so he's throwing to four-string receivers and walk-ons right now. So, hopefully as the week goes on, we'll get a better gauge of Nico. But I think they all look good. A lot of cross-training for the offensive line. John Campbell, Gerald Mincy, J.J. Crawford, Dane Davis, all those guys flipping right, left, getting working on both sides of the offensive line. Addison Nichols getting some reps at center. That's good to see. Your veteran guards, Ollie Lane and Jackson Lampley, rotating with the 1 and 2. Andre Keurig, Texas transfer. He's playing a little guard as well, and so that's all good to see. And then a wide receiver. I continue to be impressed with Dont'e Thornton. Really, really am. Thought Ramel Keaton had a pretty good day on Tuesday. Thought Squirrel White, again, had a good day on Tuesday. Someone that didn't have a good day, and it's okay, all right? Don't sound the alarms. Day two, they're not even in full pad yet. But Nathan Laycock struggled a little bit, and that's okay. Ran the wrong route a time or two, had a couple of drops. It's fine. You're a freshman. It's going to be okay. But nonetheless, those are kind of the highlights from spring practice number 2 on a Tuesday morning. really, really impressed with a couple of freshmen. It's been fun. And Tennessee, you can just see the depth that this football team has and compare to, some springs before where Tennessee's struggling. They can't even go, 2-spot or 3-spot because they don't have enough guys. And so that's really, really good to see. We'll come back with Josh Ward here on the other side. But first, I want to remind you guys about our proud sponsor, FanDuel. The tournament is heating up, and now is the perfect time to download FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It is safe, secure, and easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from money line to point scores, even three-pointers drain. You can check out the spread, the money line, the total, hit that over, that under, individual player props such as points, rebounds, assists, fouls even. You got it all over there at FanDuel Sportsbook. Plus, they let you combine bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same-game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back into Locked On Vols here on a Wednesday. You know what time it is. It is Ward Wednesday, 99.1 The Sports Animal. FM 99.1 AM 990, co-host of Josh and Swain with VFL Jason Swain. Josh Ward, former host of Locked On Vols, joins the show as he does every Wednesday. What's up, man? There's a lot to talk about today. Spring practice, Sweet 16 bound for both the men and the women. It's fun times.
This is a good time of year. Yeah, fans can look forward to football, but they don't have to rely solely on Tennessee spring football. So enjoy what comes out of that while also enjoying games that count, and both basketball teams advancing. Not many schools are saying that around the country. So a good time to be a Tennessee fan.
Yeah, Tennessee baseball. Sorry, that's just too mean right now. I understand that the wound is still fresh. We'll see if Tennessee baseball can turn around against Texas A&M this weekend. I'll be there. But Josh,
yeah, Tony Vitello, by the way, he's a fan of those other teams, but I'm sure he appreciates basketball advancing while he tries to work on some things. Tony's not going to hide when things aren't going well, but no. He, I'm sure, appreciates that fans have something else to focus on right now, and Tennessee baseball will try to get back to winning.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, again, baseball continues to get more popular here on Rocky Top because of what Tony Vitello's done, and with the program and how they're good. And but I bet it was a big help seeing Tennessee go to the Sweet 16 on this weekend. After that performance in Missouri, long season. We talked about it a little bit on yesterday's show, but nonetheless, let's talk about those baller Vols. Man, Olivier Cumwa just killed it again, tied a career high 27 points. For him to do that on that stage, 23 points in the second half, truly an incredible effort against a Duke team that, sure, it might not be the Duke of old in terms of how it played. I mean, that was a defensive-minded Duke basketball team. It got hot at the right time, but that stage in the tournament, I mean, what a showing from Cumwa on the balls.
It really was. And Olivier has been a player that we've talked about as the season has gone along, that if he plays at a high level, then Tennessee's really good. And that applies to other players. When Josiah has a big game, Tennessee often succeeds as well. The Texas game is the one that we've pointed to for so long. If that kind of performance is there, every team in the country is going to have a difficult time with Tennessee. But we haven't seen Olivier at that level or close to it often enough as the season has gone along. But wow, did he respond in the second half against Duke. And he was motivated to play against younger players that are getting more attention for the next level in the NBA. And when Duke went to his zone defense, which Tennessee was prepared for, Olivier took advantage of that. He did everything. His energy was there, and that's what you need. Earlier in the day when Tennessee had its video with Josiah and Olivier talking about playing in a big game, and Tennessee's been in those moments, he talked about wanting the smoke, and he brought it to Duke. That was impressive. That's a game that I think Tennessee fans will forever talk about, and when that happens, they're going to talk about what Olivier Cumwa did.
And also, they're going to talk about the national storyline right now about how Tennessee basketball is a dirty team. Now, I caught just a hair of the sleigh ride on Josh and Swain on Tuesday, and I mean, Slay was being himself. He was out there getting jacked up and everything. But what do you think about just that narrative of Tennessee's playing dirty? Yeah, sure, playing physical, and Olivier Jonas Adu and Uros Plavsic in particular plays physical. That's really one of the few things he brings to the team, if I'm being blunt about it. But I would never consider Tennessee dirty. I've never thought Tennessee was a dirty team, and I think it's a bit overrated in the conversation.
Tennessee is not a dirty basketball team. That is not the way that Tennessee plays. Tennessee plays a defensive-minded brand of basketball, and Tennessee is physical. And several coaches giving compliments to Tennessee over the course of the season after games in which Tennessee won said that's the most physical team we've played. Nate Oates in Knoxville after Tennessee beat Alabama said that's the most physical team. And Texas's coach after Tennessee's win, to reference that game again, talked about how Tennessee played that style, and that can make Tennessee a Final Four contender. And that's proven true with the position Tennessee's in now. When national people have talked about what Tennessee did against Duke and have used the word dirty to describe the play, I think they're talking about Uros. I think they're talking about a few select plays, and you can agree or disagree with how far he went, perfectly fine. But I think that's what they're really talking about. I don't think the national commentators are talking about Josiah or Olivier, or I don't think Adu, maybe with the elbow. I don't consider that dirty. Maybe that's something they have in mind. But I think that language is largely focused on Uros, who plays with a different style. And I do think he goes overboard at times. Rick Barnes has said that he's gone overboard at times. But I love Uros. I think he's great for Tennessee. I think he's been a great representative for Tennessee. The funny thing about calling Tennessee a dirty basketball team, or the comparisons to the bad boy Detroit Pistons, which is kind of funny to me from the Tennessee side because a lot of people think the Pistons were dirty. But the reason I don't see that is this isn't the personality of that team. Having been around Josiah and Vescovy and now Jemai Mashak, who's a younger player but through his second season at this point, and Adu and Olivier, they're not dirty basketball players. They are high character guys that fit into the culture of Tennessee, and dirty basketball is not how I would describe those guys at all.
Again, we talked about it a little bit on the show yesterday. It just kind of chalking it up, and I said part of it was lazy, part of it was creating a storyline. There's only 16 teams left. You got to talk about something. People tuning in, even media members, yes, national media members tuning in and watching Tennessee for maybe the second, third time this year. Just chalk it up to lazy, honestly, and that's kind of.
And I'll add that the FAU coach, I think it's more about knowing how Tennessee is going to play and using that if he can to work the officials ahead of time, because he's going to be saying, "Hey, watch what this guy's doing, watch what that," and try to get calls. That's what coaches do. So I don't think that was the best decision, because I think that will fire Tennessee up a little bit. Both teams will be motivated, so it's probably not a big deal. But I thought the rugby line was more funny than comparable to what others had said about Tennessee being dirty.
So kind of on that, Josh, FAU, what does Tennessee have to look out for? And how does Tennessee, and again, like people even called me out this week. I mean, this is a team that's won 33 games. I mean, it's a good ball club. Had one of the longest win streaks in the nation, ranked for the first time in quite some time. It's going to be a tough challenge. And if you're in the Sweet 16, you're there for a reason, right?
Right. Again, if you're at this point with 33 wins, you've done a lot of really good things to get to this point. So I think they're going to shoot a lot of threes, and Tennessee's going to have to play good defense, sound defense on the perimeter. Ball pressure has been impressive from Tennessee when they're locked in, but making sure guys are in the right position to avoid FAU getting really good looks, because I think from the Tennessee fan standpoint, that's probably the biggest fear going into this game is, oh no, what if this team gets hot? You've experienced it too many. Everybody's experienced it at some point in the NCAA tournament, but Tennessee fans especially in the Sweet 16 the last time the Vols were there. Ryan Klein went nuts, and it was too much in the end in a close game against Purdue, and I think that's the fear there. But FAU is going to go in confident, and this is a more mature team, and they know they're the underdog. I'm sure they're going to see the Andy Katz power ranking that had them as the 16th best team remaining out of 16 in the Sweet 16. So that's why motivation's probably a moot point at this point in the tournament and in the game for Tennessee and FAU. Both teams want to get to the Elite Eight. Both teams feel like they have to prove something. Tennessee trying to prove we're a really good basketball team. We're physical, but we're skilled. We can hit shots. We've won a lot of games, and FAU wants to show that they belong and that they can knock off another power conference team. So, this is a team that I think they're going to take a lot of threes from the outside. They're capable of hitting, and Tennessee needs to defend well on the perimeter, rebound the basketball, don't give up second chance opportunities to FAU from the sleigh ride. Ron pointed out a lot of threes can lead to a lot of long rebound opportunities, and that's how FAU could grab one. And if they see a shooter, kick it back out, and that could lead to an open look. So that's why controlling the glass will be important too.
Have you already started making the coffee for another late tip?
9 o'clock's better than 9:40. So it's like you put the donut on your bat before you go up to the plate, and all of a sudden it's a little lighter when you step up to try to swing at that fastball. So a 9:40 tip, which actually ended up being 9:33, which felt like a break, to now 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock's early after last week, so I'm ready.
Last thing, man, what are you looking forward to in Tennessee spring practice? 2 days are in the books. Got people like me going to practice, and we put some stuff out there. Kind of, what have you noticed, and what are you looking forward to over the next month?
Yeah, going in, and I'd say that's still the case, is newcomers, how they fit in, what their role can be. The defensive backfield is filled with new guys coming in from transfer and then the recruiting class. But that's pretty much every position level, right? Linebacker and the offensive line having to replace Darnell Wright. So newcomers coming in, and then individually, somebody like Cameron Seldon is just so intriguing to me from the standpoint of his talent, how he can fit in this offense, what this offense is, so how that could help benefit Cameron Seldon. So quarterback is always going to be an interesting talking point, and we're all going to cover that. But I don't see that as much competition. That's more about development. So newcomers, and Nico is one of those, how they can fit in. Having so much of the class on campus is a big storyline for this Tennessee football team and the program, which has to replace so many key players from an 11-win season.
You got the Josh and Swain newsletter every Friday morning. That link to subscribe is in the show notes every single day. But Josh, what's coming up the rest of the week on the show?
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Check out the newsletter. Hope people like it. We've had some good feedback so far on that. Quick-hitting notes on what's going on with Tennessee and elsewhere in the sports world, and getting ready for the tournament. So leading up to Thursday night, Friday, we'll have reaction, a lot of football. We'll get some baseball in too. So, a lot of good stuff with VFL Jason Swain every day, 12 to 3 on the Sports Animal.
Josh Ward every single Wednesday here on Locked On Vols. Appreciate it, man.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, fun conversation as always with Josh Ward. Hey, when we come back, Tennessee made a schedule change for a future football season. NC State 2024. How'd that come about? Is this something more neutral site games, something we should look forward to in the future? What about Oklahoma? What about those other P5 games on the schedule for years to come? We'll get into that conversation coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. All right, guys and gals, welcome back into it. Time to conclude a little Wednesday show, Locked On Vols. It is your first listen each and every day. It's a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, so it was Tuesday afternoon around 2 o'clock Eastern Time when the news was announced that Tennessee is scheduled now to play NC State in football in Charlotte, week 2 of the 2024 season. So with Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC, the league office had Tennessee and some other schools go ahead and cancel some home and homes with these two schools that they might have had on the schedule for future years. The result had Tennessee scrambling, trying to find a game for 2024 because Tennessee, of course, was returning the favor of that home and home with Oklahoma in the first couple of weeks of the 2024 season. This is what Danny White said last spring when this was announced. While we are disappointed we won't be hosting Oklahoma in 2024, we're extremely excited about the marquee games that Oklahoma and Texas will bring to Neyland Stadium in future as fellow members of the Southeastern Conference. Let's see here. In the meantime, we are actively exploring the best possible replacement opponents for 2024. So Tennessee announced that they have found that opponent on Tuesday, and it's going to be a Week 2 neutral site contest in Charlotte against NC State. Now, the Southeastern Conference is currently still requiring teams to play a Power 5 opponent in addition to the expected 9 conference games when the 16-team SEC is here in 2024. So it's believed that the SEC, right now that rule is still in place, okay? But it's believed that the SEC will do away with that rule moving forward, which is why a home and home with a Power 5 school was kind of unrealistic. And so that's why you kind of get a neutral, and that's why you kind of get just the blah game against NC State, right? So it's kind of a one-off. So that rule is supposed to be going away sometime soon, but it's not yet. So Tennessee needed an opponent, and they found one in NC State. It's going to be in Charlotte. Again, the quotes, this is from Danny White. We appreciate the Charlotte Sports Foundation and NC State on executing a game of this caliber on short notice. I understand game ops and all that, but it always cracks me up on short notice. I mean, we're talking about, over what is it, guys? Over about 20 months away. I mean, goodness gracious. Let's see here. Said Danny White, this is another terrific opportunity for our football program and Vol Nation to showcase our brand in one of college football's perennial marquee contests. Okay. Greg Sankey said the league hopes to finalize, of course, that scheduling model for the expanded league later this spring. It's been points and times, he said, on a couple of different occasions, that he hopes by the spring meetings in Destin, he hopes to have that official, and that is over Memorial Day weekend. So hopefully there's something, in that regard by then. So Tennessee is going to open the 2024 season at home against UT Chattanooga, and then we'll head over to Charlotte for week 2 and what they're going to call the Dukes Mayo Classic against NC State. Tennessee will get $4 million for playing in this football game. I would imagine that NC State's going to get $4 million as well. That money is going to go directly to the efforts in the construction enhancements at Neyland Stadium, and it's going to go to the Anderson Training Center, which is where the offices are, the locker rooms, the weight room, the indoor practice facility. They're doing construction over there right now, and so they're updating a lot of good stuff there. Tennessee did play NC State, if you remember, all the way back in 2012, back when young Eric King was still in college. They played in the Georgia Dome. Tennessee won 35-21. Tennessee last played in Charlotte against West Virginia in 2018, and that was a lopsided loss to the Mountaineers. So in addition to Chattanooga, NC State, Tennessee has contract for games with UTEP and Kent State in 2024. If it is a 9-game league schedule, either the UTEP or Kent State game will not be played. So just kind of is what it is. And so now you look at those future schedules for Tennessee. 2023, of course, is neutral side against Virginia in Nashville. Bleh. Austin P, UTSA, and UConn. I mean, really, in 2023, that is some weak scheduling right there. I still wish Tennessee was playing at BYU. I want to go to Provo. I want to see how beautiful those backdrops are. It's not fair. I mean, why did they ask me, right? But Tennessee and BYU got out of that game, and now Tennessee's going to play Virginia. So that's 2023's non-conference schedule. Remember, that's still the regular schedule that we have right now in 2023. Then you go to 16 teams in 2024. Likely a 9-game conference slate, still with that Power 5 qualifier, 1 out of conference in 2024. And that's where you have the Dukes Mayo Classic, Tennessee now in NC State, Week 2, 2024. And then you got Kent State and UTEP and Chattanooga for 2024. Look at 2025. So, again, under this same thing right here, if they're going to do away with that Power 5 component, then I'm curious why you're doing that in 2024, but maybe you're going to cancel in 2025. Because look, in 2025, 2026, I mean, you got Power 5s the rest of the way. Look, you're playing at Syracuse in the Georgia Dome. You're playing Syracuse in the Georgia Dome to kick off the 2025 season. I believe that's like the Kick-Fil-A Kickoff Classic. Like if you're watching on YouTube, I'm kicking with my hands here, kicking a paper football. So will that game even happen? In 2026, is Tennessee going to go to Nebraska? I sincerely doubt that. 2027, is Tennessee going to host Nebraska? 2028 is the West Virginia game in Charlotte. Again, why did Tennessee always play in Charlotte? Is that game going to happen? I sincerely doubt it. The home and home with Washington in 2029 and 2030. That's likely not going to happen. So it looks like, as of right now, and that's why you scheduled it a one-off, you made it a neutral site game, that the Power 5 component for the SEC schedule is going to stay in tune for 2024, the first year with the new teams, and then from there on, potentially it will be lifted, which means you're playing 9 conference schedules. You're playing 9 conference games anyway. Why on earth would you want to play another game against a Power 5 opponent to make it just only 2 cupcakes? I get it, but if you care about the health of your team and the well-being and playoff positions and all that good stuff, you're gonna want one of those other cupcakes for sure. So that was some of the news coming out from Tuesday, and again, it's Tennessee and NC State, the Dukes Mayo Classic, Week 2 in Charlotte, 2024, and Tennessee is going to receive $4 million for playing in the game. Those funds will go straight to the Anderson Training Facility. The upgrades made to that right now, which are ongoing. All right, guys, appreciate it. That's going to do it here for this Wednesday edition of Locked On Vols. Big thanks to Josh Ward. Tomorrow, we'll get you set for kickoff. Tennessee and FAU, 9 o'clock tip-off time. We'll give you a scouting reports, a game preview, all that and more. We'll get you set for tip-off. Tennessee in the Sweet 16. That is coming up on tomorrow's show, Locked On Vols. Guys, appreciate it. Thank you so much. Make Locked On College Basketball your second listen. Same time, same place. We'll try to get tomorrow, guys. This is Locked On Vols.